Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Nuneaton Borough Fans Forum. I'm Dave Sharpe. Sorry for the delay. We set everything up, then realised the people with the cheap seats at the back couldn't see. So we've rearranged things. So this is how things are going to work this evening. Obviously the lads are training. Jimmy's out there, Dale and all the boys. So we'll wait to interview them when they finish training and had a shower, and the lads are all going to come in as well. So I'm going to speak to Jimmy probably towards the end of the evening, or certainly when they've all come in. But I thought it would be interesting before that to introduce you to a few people, some of whom will come up and say a few words, who you've perhaps seen around the club or heard about or didn't know were involved, because obviously this is a different era, a new era. So we'll do that shortly. Now, there are people who've been involved for a long time in the club. There are some new faces, and quite a few of the people who are investors, and we're going to talk to Jimmy and another guy, Adam Hayes, about the structure of the club, whether these people are directors, whether they're classed as investors, whether they've got shares or not. It's not fully clear, but there are some people over there, if you'd just like to raise your hand. So we have Andy, Kev, Justin, Stuart Elliott, Dave Parnell, and Adam Hayes, and Diane. And then we've got Jason, you're running the junior setup. We might have a little chat with you. So these people have been involved. Not all of them want to say a few words, but the person I'd really like to speak to first is someone who's stuck through this by us and through this club through thick and thin, and that's Stuart Elliott. So Stuart and I have gone back a long way. I can remember when I started at the club, Marlon Harewood signed, and yeah, that's probably better for me, isn't it? Marlon Harewood was here and we presented you with a shirt and all of that, and happy days then, wasn't it? And then there were some times when it all went a bit pear-shaped, but you're very much involved, but not just sponsoring the club, because you've been the shirt sponsor for 10 years now, but you're doing a lot more as well. You listen to me, but look, I suppose the big question is, why?
Oh, it's been rather painful this last season. I think I felt last year that things were really bad, and actually I came to more games last season than I ever came to, because I actually felt I needed to be involved in this club right now. It's just got such a bad point that, you know, I just felt I've got to be here. You know, when it's winning, everybody wants to turn up, and everybody wants to follow a winning team, but to see the club go through the back end of last season, and I thought it was never going to come back, and we were never going to actually play another game, and then to get the phone call and say, would you sponsor the club game? Having already spent my sponsorship elsewhere, I thought, I can't turn this down, I've got to do this, because, you know, I'm Borough through and through, and it just seemed to be the right moment. I've got to support the club, and to watch last season, the last 20 games I came to lose, it was painful, but I got to stick it out, you know. But now we're just moving on so well, and everything's just happening. There's a buzz around the club, and everybody's getting involved. And there's so many people that have, you know, I've seen the Co-Operative get involved very much with Mark and other people. Forgive me, I don't know all the names of the people, but I know their faces. But there have been so many people, a lot of you here today. I'm so impressed with how the community's come together. You know, and you've got people like Andy Farmer's got involved, Adam Hayes, Justin Palmer, and Kevin Bosworth as well, and sorry if I forget anybody, and Diane as well. You know, there's just a great buzz around this club, and it, you know, I'm so pleased that you're still here. Many a time I thought, I just need to move on, you know. And when it started sport last season, the oval ball thing, but for a little while, not over here, but you know, but now I'm back again, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, people who know me from the club, to be fair, for the last 12 years I've just been the shirt sponsor. I'm very much involved this year, and I've not been there before, where I've actually know what's going on in the corners of the ground and things like that. And to be fair, I'm quite embarrassed to admit that, really. You know, but you know, it's just it was just the right time to get involved and engaged. You know, I'm not a front man, you know, but you know, I'm enjoying getting involved. And that's where we are with it, really.
Well, I mean, you're being very modest. I know there have been a couple of times where you've really thought long and hard about whether because you haven't, you know, you had the love when Marlon was here, but then there wasn't much love, was there? And there wasn't much communication, and then it started again. We're all in a WhatsApp group, and you're very active in that group, and you have gone beyond just putting money in. I say just with with an apology, because obviously you've got your own heating and plumbing company, and seriously, guys, with all our sponsors, if you can support them. I mean, I bought a toilet seat from you recently, didn't I? I mean, I could have got it cheaper at B&Q, but that's not the point.
I want a new shower.
But it is about giving back to our loyal sponsors as well. And but you have, I mean, on the WhatsApp group, you get messages literally like 10 to midnight. Stuart, the toilets don't work. There's blocked again. Can you get someone down there? And you've been helping out.
Yeah, we've had 2 lads down here, and Ian Gascoigne supplied all the boards around the ground and his business. 2 of our lads went and put them all up. So we provided those 2 people for what was supposed to be 2 days, which ended up being over a week. And the Co-Operative also had their lads helping as well, and painting and everything else. But I have been sort of sending people down here all the time just to do something. And the state of the ground has clearly, or the stadium should I say, clearly nothing's been done for 2 years. So the group of people, it's about 40 people, I would say, that are engaging all the time with doing things for the club. And forgive me, they go unnoticed a little bit, and they need recognition. And a lot of these people are here tonight, and I'd like to say thank you to them, because they've been diamonds, really have.
It is remarkable. I mean, I used to regularly put messages out for volunteers and help when I was working at the club, and no one would come forward, and I think I know why now. And it is really much about bringing this back to Nuneaton, involving Nuneaton people in the work and Nuneaton businesses, and I think you guys have been very successful in doing that.
We've got some of the people coming Saturday that have not been here for 12 years. Some of the old directors of the borough are coming back on Saturday, and they haven't been set foot in the room for 12 years, so really encouraging. And everywhere I see at the moment, and every time I see a WhatsApp, there's just so much buzz about what's going on.
And it needed that, and I suppose we will talk about the football side of things later on, but no, we won't talk about that, but it is just, if not more important, to get the club stable off the pitch than, it'd be great if we have a great season, but that was the main thing, and you've been a massive part of that with all these others as well.
Obviously this club is, and the facilities are, they're not the best, but we're making the best of what we've got, and we're patching them up, and the same way I'm using the raw because it's all you people out here have been doing it, and it's fantastic to see it. I'm loving it. It's the first time I've really been engaged in what's going on day to day, and I just didn't realise how much work goes on in a club out of season. Normally when the end of the season comes, I sort of see the last game and then the first game of the season, and I just didn't understand what's going on, why the season's closed. It's amazing.
And we are all grateful for your ongoing support. So for now, ladies and gentlemen, good friend Stuart Elliott. So the first fixture obviously is on Saturday, and it's August, so we know that it's going to be gales and rain, unfortunately. But one of the things that the Co-op, and particularly Mark Axon, has been doing is producing little flyers and things like this for the fixtures. I'm going to be involved with local rock, trying to get the news out there. I know quite a few people, particularly elderly people, don't necessarily get on the internet, like my dad. So things like this, which if you can hand out, we've got 1,000 printed. I'm right in thinking, where's Mark? There, we've got 1,000 of these, haven't we? And we want these to go out amongst fans, but particularly new people as well. And this is fixtures right through till the end of August. Are you going to try and do this every month?
Every 4 home games.
Great. So Mark, you've got a box full here. If you can take some and just drop them somewhere, not in a hedge, obviously, but somewhere strategic where someone will pick one up, we'd be very grateful. And the other thing to say is, you've probably noticed that the off-pitch activities have been amazing, particularly through the close season. So they've had bands on, they've had the Madison's night. I'm more of a Charlie's boy myself, but the Madison's night was very successful here. And they're going to continue that, and there's a singer here on Saturday, 1:30 in here, so get here early, make a day of it. I know in the past it wasn't much fun, but now there's something going on. So if you can get here early, that's Saturday. So, Next thing that I want to talk about is something that's very, very close to my heart. When I worked at Sterling Metals, I bloody hated it. What a dump. But I didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school, so I worked at Sterling Metals. And while I was away at college, because they put me on a course, I used to play football every lunchtime. And I've never been the world's best footballer, but I've got plenty of that. And the coach in there said, you should go off and do your FA coaching badge. And I went away, I was only 20, and I was one of the youngest in the UK to get my FA coaching badge. And he said, if you pass, because they don't tell you at the time, you get a letter in the post, he said, if you pass, you'll be too young to coach adults, so stay involved in the game, coach young people. So I turned up at Nuneaton Boys Club. Roger Baggett was the club leader down there, and I said, I'm a football coach, Roger, have you got anybody I can coach? I'm going to form a team. And there was a little lad, 9 years old, and he said, I'll play for you. I said, that's great. I said, I'm going to be under 11s though. And he said, well, 9 is under 11. I said, well, fine, come to training. And we formed a team, and we did really well in that first season. So much so that I gave up my job at Sterling Metals to go off and re-qualify to do sport with young people. That young person who gave me that incentive was Cal Long. And Cal passed away following the Borough away at Bournemouth in the FA Cup. So I've got a nice memory of Cal from that age group. But I always thought it was a shame that we didn't have Nuneaton Borough youth teams at that age group and upwards, and that we'd gone to the boys club. So now we've got them, so I think it's appropriate. Jason, if you don't mind coming forward just to tell us a little bit about our youth teams. So this has happened really quickly, and I know Mark Grimes has been involved, so just tell us a little bit about the setup, how many teams we've got and at what age groups.
So we officially formed on June the 10th at our AGM, so we've been active for 2 months now. Mark did a lot of the groundwork from January onwards. We've got 9 teams ranging from under 8s all the way through to under 16s. We've got a few holes in there that we want to fill, but this is a long-term project, so to have 9 teams in our first season is fantastic. We've got a first aid course running down here on Monday, so we're investing in our coaches, getting people qualified, and really we're in this for the long term. So.
And you're going to be playing games around the town. Have you got your own pitches sorted out? That was always a bugbear of mine, trying to get a pitch.
Yeah, we've got 2 venues sorted. We've got King Edward College down on the main road in Attleborough for the older lads, for the 13s, 14s and 16s. And we're using Tavistock Way for the 8s, 11s, 8s, 10s and 12s. So two good venues, a college and a school that are really keen to strike up a partnership as well. So they're keen to get on board with getting invested in Nuneaton as well, which is really positive.
And let's be clear, these lads will play in Borough kit as Nuneaton Borough.
Absolutely, yeah. Every team will play in the home kit, sponsored by Stuart. We've got training kits which are on display there. We're using a slightly different away kit, and we've just secured a massive sponsorship with one of the managers to kit all the lads out in tracksuits for the season on a 2-year deal, which is massive.
Fantastic. So I'm saying lads, but of course there'll be girls involved as well, and I know we've got a ladies team as well. Are they here? Is that a hooray? Up for the girls. I've got another story about that. That's for another day. So how many young people is it at the moment that you've got involved?
We're working on about 110 players, so it's escalated really quickly. Mark had done the work with the older lads January, February time, and I said to him, what's your ethos on the younger kids? Because I'm investing in my lads under 10 side, and we talked, and it was about developing the kids and just getting as many kids playing as we can. So we want to get 2 or 3 teams in every age group and really grow this over the next 2 to 3 years. We'd love to get our own self-sufficient training facility down here long term. We're looking at potential for 3Gs and 4Gs and things like that. So it's to go from nothing to 110 in the first year is huge, and we want to keep growing.
Fantastic. And are these all players that have been playing for other teams? Is a new talent coming through? Is it fresh blood? Is it, you're poaching players? And you wouldn't do that, would you? We would never do that.
No. We've had settled teams come down. They've been attracted by the name, coming to play for Nuneaton Borough. We've had people turn up random. We had a little under 12 Romanian goalkeeper come down and train this week, and he was absolutely brilliant by all accounts. So we've had a cross section of people and everything getting involved. We're still on the lookout for some players for our under 13s and under 16s. So if anybody knows anybody in them age groups who's keen, we're just looking to bulk their numbers up. But the rest of the lads are settled, and we've had training sessions for the last couple of weeks, and friendlies are being lined up, and we're all geared up, ready to go.
Fantastic. And I mean, we're all keen fans. You're playing on Sundays, is that right? If people want to go and watch, or they're wandering out walking the dog or whatever, those two venues, what sort of times and days would we see them playing?
Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings. We've got 4 teams playing at Kegs, so there'll be games down at Kegs every week. They're sharing 2 pitches. And then at Tavistock, they're playing Saturday mornings. We've got 2 teams down there on a Saturday, so there's a game every week. And we've got 2 teams there on a Sunday, so there's loads of football going on, and please do pop along and have a look. We'll be noticeable, we'll be in the borough strips, so we'll be representing the club in the town.
Fantastic. And what we really like, and one thing that I was always quite proud of when I was involved in the club, was when we used to bring young people in as around the ground for getting the ball, or we'd play them on the pitch at half time, and their parents would all come, and they perhaps weren't fans, but you know, they would come on the turnstile and then become fans because their child had had a game. Are you planning to get involved on Saturday afternoon, Tuesday evenings with the first team?
Yeah, the senior club have invested massively in us. They've shown us a lot of support. We're actively seeking our team's first choice for ball boys on Saturdays. There's a couple of teams already done it. We've got the 24th of August and the 31st of August lined up for our lads. The under 12s are going to have a little training session before the first team start, and they'll be on display in their full training kit. And yeah, we're going to open it up to the community as well, because we want to open it up to everybody. But we'll get first dibs on ball boying, and we've talked about the lads and their parents travelling on the first team coach to away games, you know, and just the little things that give playing for the borough that extra edge. Every kid's had a season ticket, so we're hoping that these kids will bring their parents down, and we boost the numbers on the gate and really get invested in the club. We were tasked with being ambassadors for the club, and we really want to drive that.
Fantastic. So I can't get that out of my head that these might be on the team coach with me, so we need to get a sick bag on there, don't we? And I'm just thinking of poor old Roy. So you've got a commitment to the club. I know some of the players are going to help out training as well. Has Devon been involved? Yeah,
Devon and Cam come down to our registration night early July. We had around 90 players sign on that night, and some of the little lads' faces, just seeing them guys is absolutely brilliant. We've sponsored Devon's home shirt as a section, so we want to give a little bit back, and we're hoping that I think we're trying to line up 1 player per age group to come along to, you know, maybe a training session and a match, and we'll give something back for that as well. So.
Not being funny, but Devon could probably get in the under 12s, couldn't he? You could have him in there as a little ringer, couldn't you? Don't tell him I said that. And I know as well that obviously the club survived. We've managed to. Someone said it was a very big bucket, because it does seem unlikely that you all managed to raise that much money to get the club out of the mess that it was in. But I do know that the teams are going to be tasked with contributing as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, we've been tasked with raising some money and investing in the club. I described it as being ambassadors for the club, but we'll be booking functions, and we'll be having our own race nights, and we've lined up and a day down here for the FA Cup final. We're selling envelopes for the FA Cup. I should have bought tonight, really. I missed a trick there, but so we're looking to raise over £2,000 there, and we're going to be doing bits and putting our name against things to improve the facility here as well, for everybody, for us as well. So.
Fantastic. Andy Gunn does a brilliant Santa Claus at Christmas. Put him in a red coat, and you're going to have your Christmas party here as well. That's the youth setup. Obviously that's for this year. I mean, God, you've achieved an awful amount straight away, but you said you wanted to expand. How can people get involved?
Just come along to the games, come and see me. We're always looking, the same as the club, always looking for volunteers. We are looking to invest in people to coach, and we want to grow these sections with more teams. So the hardest part is getting coaches to coach the teams. The kids will come. If the teams are there, the kids will come. That's already been proven. So if anybody is interested in getting involved, just give us a shout, contact myself, Mark. We've got a full committee set up, and just if anybody's interested, come my way.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like we've got a bright future with the youth team and a future Romanian goalkeeper by the sound of it as well. So thank you so much for everything you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, for now, that's all about our junior setup. Before we speak to Jimmy, who's just come in, I'm going to introduce you to one more person, and again, like you've mentioned, Stuart, there's anybody I've not mentioned as well, because there's an awful amount of activity going on down here, loads of people who've been involved, too many to mention. I want to bring up a guy who I've spent quite a lot of time with, but that you may not know. So he's going to come and tell you a little bit about what his role is and what he intends to do. Then we'll get Jimmy up and we'll talk about the structure of the club and the football, and then if we have to, we'll talk to Cam, who's just walked in as well. And we'll talk to Cam as skipper about the playing side of things as well. So for now, let's bring up Adam Hayes, everybody. So Adam, I don't think I need to ask any questions. You could obviously, I know you well enough to know that you could just tell everybody what's going on, but I thought it'd be useful. So how did you first get involved? Because most people won't have seen you around the ground.
We rented a property up in Ashley Drive. I'm a football fan, Newcastle. We came along to a few games, and there was an event going on with Nick Hawkins, and through Diane and some friends was asked to come along, and from about 30 seconds of that speech thought, I can help here. I think I can bring some skills to it, and that's the reason. After the meeting, I'd never spoken to Jimmy Ginnelly before. He rang me up, I need a word, and ever since then I don't think we've left the club, have we, Jimmy?
and you said a very curious thing there, because obviously we talk a lot, and I've done in the last 12 months, about money, sponsorship, fundraising, but you said, in the words of Liam Neeson, you have a particularly special set of skills. Tell us about those.
I run my own national business. Before that, I've been a graduate at Rover. I've been VP of DHL. I run my own training company. And those skills in business, from whether it's HR, whether it's finance, operations, those sort of skills, I wanted to try and help the club in whichever way I could, really.
And I know that you've been putting together business plans and strategies, and it's still not completely nailed yet, isn't it? Because we've got some very, very generous people in the room who are happy to contribute and didn't really expect anything back, whether that be shares or directorships. Some people do want that. The supporters Co-Operative are involved. We'll talk about them in a minute as well. So how is that all going to work?
It's been a very complicated journey. If I go back to March when we got involved, we've got a winding up order. We've got a recent transfer to Jimmy. There's a lot of legacy debt. In terms of shares, most of the people that are involved, myself included, are not looking to be shareholders. The co-op, I think it is important that the community has a stake in the club. And we have to understand that, because that, sorry. We have to understand that the supporters are an important part of the future. And I think we talked about shares, and if I look back at the future and you start to piece it together, I think past ownership has all been about who owns it, who's financially, where is it, and we want to make it inclusive. We want the fans involved. All of the people that we're working with Stuart, Dave, Andy, Kevin, all of the people, nobody's actually having that conversation at the moment, which is refreshing. The one thing that we will do is, as we grow, and as Jason has mentioned about 4G pitches, if we can use that share capital to get real investment in the club, but retain the assets for the club, that's the correct way that we should do it. There's only one person who owns the club, who has the share, that's Mr. Ginnelly. I think every one of us who've worked with him, we trust him. He's from Nuneaton, and the longer that we can keep the shares within Nuneaton and put a commitment that all the money is coming back into the club, that's where we need to be.
You mentioned that there. I know you've been, all of you have got special skills to bring, and you've been advising Jimmy on certain things. In terms of club structure, and this is probably only appropriate for the match day programme where they ask you who is the owner, who is the chairperson, who is the vice chair, who is the secretary, etc. Obviously we've got some changes ahead because I know Adam Etheridge is leaving, and I'd like to just put on record our thanks to Adam because he's done a sterling job in difficult circumstances over the last 16 months. How does that structure look? If you could put a name next to each of those, what names would go where?
It's all about Jimmy. So obviously Jimmy is the owner, the chairman, the football club manager, the coach, the office cleaner. But below that, there is myself as vice chairman, looking at the business side of it, looking at the growth side of it. Stuart Elliott as another vice chairman, as it's important that the club has somebody from the community who's been on the journey, is respected in the community. And then we also have the co-op. Below that is a group of, I will say 10, but I'll try and go through the names. We have Dave Parnell, we have Andy Farmer, we have Ian Gascoigne, we have Keith Davis, we have Kevin Bosworth, we have Justin Palmer, we have Dave Sharpe. Have I missed anybody? Cash. Yes, we obviously have Cash, who's recently joined, and we've got some exciting news. But all of those, really, we're all working together. You know, everybody wants to have figureheads in the structure. Obviously the club has to. For example, when we have the PFA ring us today, you have to have that vice chairman structure. But to be honest, it's a team working as one. And that's what it's growing by the week. As you said earlier, do you see people working around the ground? Yes, there's people coming in every day. You don't know who they are. But week by week, there are other people to come and help us at a senior level that gives us more power to what we're trying to do. And that's what's important.
Obviously, this club knows how important the role of secretary is. Adam is leaving. He's given us notice. He's going to be here till the end of August. What's in place to replace him? And who else can we expect on board and fulfilling which roles?
Well, obviously we need to, you know, from a club secretarial role, we've mapped, in an ideal world, we'd have a full-time general manager, we'd have a full-time club secretary, we'd have a full-time commercial manager, we'd have full-time this. We're now on the lookout, so Dawn Wilden is joining us shortly, brings a lot of managerial experience. We are interviewing as we speak for a replacement for the club secretary. There's a lot of people that have come forward. But when we were here late on Tuesday night, it's actually about the volunteer network as well. So, I mean, Mark Axon, we talked about the media, the supporters club want to take that on, the Co-Operative helping us with skills, because the skills that we need now are different to what we needed in March. We're having growing pains. You talked about the events. You know, if you go back to March and April, a normal event at this club, well, I can remember coming, I think me and Andy Farmer, there was 5 of us here, to an event where someone had, you know, a big disco, everything. Now we're having events such as Bad Blood, the Madison's Revival, the Stone Roses. That brings different challenges now. The organisational challenges required, the marketing required. So we're on the lookout for volunteers who bring skills as well as the permanent appointments that we need. And that's quite important because this is not the club it was in March. It's not the club, and it is not the club that it's going to be in 12 months' time, assuming that we all pull together in one direction.
You mentioned there that this is not the club that we had in March. I mentioned the Stockport game. Let's just be clear now. Where are we financially? Debts, bills still to pay, winding up orders, money in the bank. Can you reveal any?
I think my phone's just going. No. I hope other people, and Mark and John would also say that we've been very transparent with where we are financially. I won't quote exact numbers, but the debt that was handed over by the previous owner was probably only 33% of the actual debt. We have cleared that debt. If I look at receivables and payables, so if, for those that might not understand, on our accounts ledger, as we stand today, for every debt that we've got, we have a cover for it. So therefore, as a business, we are trading solvent. The frustrating thing, even tonight, we are still dealing with a debt, although we're aware of it, that was from 15 months ago. The frustrating thing is that if we hadn't had those debts, we would be in a cash positive situation and can invest a lot of the sponsorship we had in future state. But we are where we are. So we start the season on a level playing field. It's not made up numbers, they're the numbers that we declare. We have challenges ahead, as any football club will have. You know, I will make no secret of it. Our average attendance is 641. I know these numbers. If you take off the season ticket holders, you take off the concessions, we have to drive the number of people attending. Our budget for this season is based on last year's numbers. So we're well aware of what sponsorship we need for next season. All of the seniors, if you ask them, they're aware of the financial situation. We've created a platform. Now we have to use that platform to go forward. So there are no threats of winding up orders. We are up to date with PAYE. From a VAT perspective, we've created a new VAT number from the minute that Jimmy Ginnelly took on board. So there are no latent debts that we are not aware of as a management team.
That's reassuring, because I know there were people that were coming out of the woodwork and saying they need to be paid, and I know that there was a real genuine commitment to pay those people, wherever those were genuine debts with proof of invoices or receipts or whatever, you were paying them, aren't you, or agreeing deals to pay them.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had some creditors who've been fantastic. There are people that have helped us. There are people that have taken 30p in the pound in effect, but there's also been some people who won't budge. And, unfortunately, you have to ride it. Being the first time in football, understanding that you've got to pay your football debts off, that was probably the hardest thing to do, because actually the inter-football debts are the ones that you can't reduce. But we have had a lot of support. Justin Palmer did a lot of work and is still doing it with the electric people. But the frustrating thing is that you actually sit there and go, we're actually paying money for things that were nothing to do with this team. This is debts that are going back 15 months, 24 months. But as Nick Cusack said to me today from the PFA, you seem a person of integrity and you seem a club of integrity. And based on what you said earlier, that's what we want to be known as. And that's what we're trying to do. So we believe we played with a straight bat. I don't think there's anybody who we haven't dealt with integrity and also told them the position. And there's been some fabulous creditors who've helped us. There've also been some people who haven't, but hey, that's life.
In the spirit of transparency, we received a question about the future of Jimmy as the manager if the team was struggling. That's not going to happen, we know that, but in all seriousness, there is something in place, isn't there? So, he's the manager, owner, cook, bottle washer, cleaner, and chairman. What happens if?
Is this being recorded? Is he here? He's gone. Oh, there he is.
Still there.
It just ran out.
I think within the structure, and it is something that has been asked a number of times to Jimmy himself. I've been there when people have asked it. We've asked it ourselves. I think with the structure that we've got with especially myself and Stuart, if there was a conversation to have, Stuart would definitely have that conversation. But No, I think I heard a lot about Jimmy Ginnelly, but I also know that he's a very proud person as well. And if he felt that there was someone who could do a better job, I'm 100% certain that he would do it. His mantra for being here is for the best of Nuneaton. I'm also sure that I know myself that if things weren't going well, I would have the conversation, so would Stuart, but I think we deal with it in a professional way, in a respectful way. I mean, he's told me he's going to win the first 10 games, so I've just took that on trust. But no, I don't. I think lots of people, I think we have to cross that bridge if we come to it. I think sometimes you can spend too much time. What happens if that goes wrong? Just look at where we are from March onwards. And the other thing as well, and I think a lot of people who've been involved, Jimmy actually doesn't get the time to spend the time on the football. And we as a team, and all the supporters and the volunteers have got to do everything we can to actually give him time to focus on what is his core responsibility. So we have to balance that as well in time. So if he only wins 9 out of 10, let's give him that little bit of tolerance that it was because he spent all day Sunday cleaning the bar or whatever. But I don't think it'll be a problem going forward. Myself, Stuart and Jimmy have talked about it, and we'll deal with it when it comes that way.
Ladies and gentlemen, some more honest answers. Give it up for Adam. Adam Hayes. Thank you, Adam. I was going to move on to Jimmy next, but I do think it would be right to speak about the Supporters Co-Operative. Mark, would you like to come up and represent them? I know there are other members here. Because for a long time, John, do you want to come up as well? Or I don't want to exclude anybody, but we're not going to be here for long. For a long, long time, the club has asked for representation, the fans have asked for representation within the club structure, and that is now happening.
It's in process, yeah. And been involved since Jimmy took over, and it feels very open and transparent, which is really good and reassuring. I'm still learning about accounting and figures and things like that, trying to get my head around that. But what we're being presented with seems accountable and things we can trust and work on. So there's lots of things about the share offer and things like that we're still working on. That's up to me really to work the supporters direct and things like that to make sure that we're presenting the club what we would like. So it's a starting point really, but it feels like a breath of fresh air at the minute, and hopefully things continue in the right frame of mind, which I'm sure they will.
There's been an amazing amount of support from the cooperative. There always has been, really. They don't always get the credit that they deserve in terms of buying things, but they've been around the ground, they've been helping. There's a big task list, and people have been going through jobs and all that sort of stuff. But also, am I right in thinking that you did put money into the club?
Yeah. So after we've put 10,000 of our savings, our contingency money that the supporters have saved over years and years into the football club. In return, when we get to that point, for shares. And other owners, previous owners have asked us to do that, but we didn't feel very confident in that we would be treated as an equal partner, really. But the whole of the board felt that we would be. So at this point, that's why we decided to invest that money into the football club when it was really desperately needed.
And what sort of, brilliant move that was. And what sort of say would the cooperative want in the running of the club and the team?
Well, we're still working on that at the moment, but we're being invited to every board meeting. We're contributing to that. I feel we're being treated as equal partners to that. The ins and outs of decision making still needs to be worked out. There's a lot of people around that table, and we still need to work that out. But things are in progress, and they're moving in the right way, I think.
There was a time that we did a radio show around about the time that Nick was around and some others, and there was talk about making an annual contribution of £10,000. That won't be happening from the Supporters Co-Operative, will it?
Well, we don't have that sort of money at the moment, so if we were involved at that level, we would need to talk with the club and see how we could raise that sort of funds and what that would mean for the fans in terms of decision making and involvement. That's a long way off at the moment for the cooperative, but we can try and support the club in other ways. So we have a volunteer initiative that comes down in the week and does jobs, and Mike and his team have been done loads of fantastic work just to keep this place ticking along, really. It's sometimes hard to see because this building takes a lot of work just to keep to a certain level. And I really thank all those people that dedicate that time to the football club for nothing, because they love this club and want to see it survive. So.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I think if you want to know anything from the Co-Operative, join is the thing to do. Was it £2?
Yeah, join, please get involved. We have regular board meetings, come along, get involved. If you think of a project the club needs to do or supporters need to do, just do it. And that's what you need to do. You just need to have a bit of, just have a go. That's all. And I think if we all work together in that ethos, the club's going to start to thrive even more than it is at the moment. So.
Fantastic. Well, on behalf of all the fans, thanks to the Supporter Co-Operative for sticking by the club and getting involved. Well done. So, I think it's appropriate. The training for this evening is finished. That's it now. First game is Saturday. So, who best to talk to than the owner, manager, coach, bottle washer, Jimmy Ginnelly. Change the. We used to sit next together to each other at school, and I was going to set up a desk so that we could just chat like we used to in the classroom, but no one can see us because we ain't the biggest, are we? Tallest rather. So we've been talking while you've not been in the room about what's been going on since about a year ago, and you coming in, and I know how hard it's been for you. Probably not so much as a manager, you know what you're inheriting there, but off the pitch, and there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and laughter and fun. Where are you personally now, with 2 days to go before the start of the season?
Chuffed to bits. Waited a long time for this, and it's here. I just said to the lads on the pitch, it's a massive day Saturday for the club. I think this is a rebirth of the Nuneaton Borough Football Club. The work that's gone on behind the scenes for the last 7 months, it has been tireless. Everybody's put inches and miles in, and it's all for this day. And we find out 5 o'clock Saturday whether it's all been worth it.
With the, I mean, you hadn't really got time to think about the actual football side of things when you were fighting fires left, right, and centre just to keep the club running to the end of last season, let alone getting them going for the start of this season. It's caught a few fans by surprise, and the media, just the amount of players you've managed to sign and the quality. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'd like to think I know the league very well. I know what sort of players I'm after. Got great backroom staff, that's the first place you start. So you've got Dale, Tom and lads in alongside me. They know players, I know players. The players we sign know players. I'm standing there tonight watching the training. We've got 24 great players. I've got no worries if we've got 4 or 5 injuries at the minute. I know players probably won't stay around forever, but the truth is, any manager will know you need 24 to start the season. I've got 24 and I haven't got a problem with any one of them, so I'm very, very confident the first month will be good for the Nuneaton Borough.
With that amount of players, as you say, you know, at this level, it's hard to keep them all happy. Some might be able to drop into the under-21s. Would you be thinking of sending some out on loan? You say some might drop by the wayside, maybe if, you know, they don't get a run in the team. How do you see it in 6 weeks' time?
I think I've been in the game long enough to know that straight away tonight, with 4 days or 3 days from kick-off, we've still got 4 or 5 injuries. So it proves a point. That takes you down to 20. Got 2 keepers, that could take you down to 19. 2 lads go out on loan, takes you down to 17. You play your first game, you have 2 injuries, 2 or 3 come back into the 16. So again, you need the 24. As a player, it's tough for them. But I have just asked the lads there all to be patient, take your time. You will play. Them that want to go and get minutes, talk to me and Dale and lads, we'll put you out and get minutes. But I'd rather you sit in the stand and watch your teammates. Be prepared for when you need it.
With the fact that the club survived, I just think most people are grateful to put a team on the pitch, but you're a competitive person. That's not why you're involved in football, is it? Just to get a team out there. You want to go out and win games and score goals and challenge for things.
Yeah, I mean, we've just worked on training tonight, me, Dale and lads again. My plan is to play 3 up top Saturday, outscore the opposition, entertain the fans the best I can, and that's what we'll try and do. Definitely try and outscore the opposition. And lads and Tom and Dale, I'll have to keep doing that for me. Sometimes I put the protective mode on, but I'm not that player. I'm not that manager. I don't want my players to be. I want my players to say, we are Nuneaton Borough, we're at home, should get a good crowd playing against Kings Langley. Just for the fans' sake and for me, go out there and score 3 or 4 goals. If they score 5, then we're doing something wrong.
I mean, you mentioned that style of play, and let's face it, we didn't have much to cheer last year. Certainly weren't any wins, 2 was it, or 1 at home, and not many goals. So goals is a challenge. What about away from home? You know, you'd like to see a bit of a following. What can we expect to see on the pitch away from home?
Again, we will find out very early after 2 or 3 games whether we are this team that we've put together. Are we up there challenging? Do we have to do, I don't want to do this, but do we have to start thinking about stabilising? I don't want to do that. I want to attack the season straight away and say, listen, we're good enough. We've got great strikers, we've got good midfielders, got great defenders, a couple of good goalies. We go for it. Away from home, we just go, every game we just have a right go. And again, once again, seriously, if we can score the 3 goals, how do we get beat? If we get beat 4-3, it's going to be a freak game.
Can we, I mean, it's a long season, and you can, you know, there's no transfer windows at this level and all of that, so we could still see movement. Is there any more players coming in? Do you expect any to go out now, or we got a bit of a period of things settling down?
Well, I'd like to say this to you fans, it's what we've created together is the phone is never stopping now. Us as a management team, we know this, that the last 2 weeks would be people trying to get into a club, and the phone is non-stop, daily. Can somebody else join the club? There's loads of agents around these days, so we don't take much notice of them, but when you get a phone call from somebody you know and they offer you a player that's sort of like been in the Football League or the conference in the last 2 years, we have to have a think about it. But I think we had a chat Tuesday and said let's put a cap on it for now. We have been offered 2 players today, but very, very good players. One of them, I'll tell you all, was the 22 who played for Walsall against us in the friendly. He was probably man of the match. They've been in touch. Do we want to bring the kid in? Choice is, we'll speak about it after Saturday.
When before you came in the room, I was talking about the reputation of the club being probably at its lowest ebb for many, many years, about a year ago, and it sort of drifted through last season, and then things started to pick up. But it's reassuring. I mean, I felt it when I went to the National League Gala dinner that people are, you know, really willing us on, you know, that we're popular again. But you're saying that people think this is a big club and they want to come and play here, they want to send players here on loan. You've got people focused on Nuneaton. Why is that?
Because you guys here have stuck by the club. Us guys that have come in are wanting a relationship with the club. We want to be here as managers and players for a while. It's all about, for you guys as supporters to clap us off when we've just lost at home. Me and Dale last year, it's phenomenal walking down that little walkway and you think, wow, what will it be like if we win the game? And this is the season that I think we've put a squad together, we'll probably win, you know, 60, 65, 70% of the games if I've got it right. And I'd like that clap to be on the back of a win rather than, you know, just being great supporters.
Just moving away from the football then for now, you are the sole owner of the club, the 100% of the shares are with you, you are the chair of the club as well. That keeps it from being messy, but you've got tremendous support from that group of people in the middle of the room. We've spoken to a couple of them. It was a struggle without people like that.
It's a massive struggle, but listen, that thing called the owner, or whatever you want to call me, it means nothing actually to me. You own the club. I'm doing this for Nuneaton, not for me. I don't want anything out of it. I just want football to be right in Nuneaton. I want you lot to be smiling. I want the team to be good. And I just want everybody to understand, without you, there is not a football club. So the guys that have put the money in, yes, thank you. But with you guys doing all the volunteering and coming through the gate supporting your club, that's what I do it for. I don't do it for anything else. So the bit about the owner, I'm not interested in, to be honest. It's just a piece of paper.
I know, because we spoke for hours and hours, didn't we, on the phone and on the team coach and all of that, that it's, you know, you've got your own business to run at the end of the day. You've got a football team to run, and now you've got a football club to run. And we all know, I know especially, as I've known you all my life more or less, that this was the dream job. But did you ever think you'd be owning the club and giving it back to the people, but still it's your name above the door?
No, probably not. No. Yeah, I always wanted to manage the club. Always managed the level below. Always stared at it thinking one day I'll probably get that job. That's the only thing I can thank Nick Hawkins for. But he's now at Elkiston and we'll destroy that club in the next 6 months. We know that, but that just makes it all the better for us, doesn't it? But really, yeah, I did want to manage the club. I've got a manager of the club now. I do want to enjoy being a manager, and the guys behind the scenes who do all the bits and bobs, they're helping me get there, and hopefully this next couple of weeks they'll understand that I do want to be part of the management team and not doing all the doggies.
Dogging, did you say? Ballsland, yeah. Oh, is that you, is it? Oh, right. 2 flashes then. Serious question. Obviously, we're at Liberty Way, and you're doing a great job of getting the club back up to scratch, and you might have some plans for the future. But someone asked me about the lease, because it's 20 years, now it's 10, and it'll soon be 5. You know, time flies. You know, as the owner of the club, do you sort of think that far ahead about what might happen? Are you discussing that?
We just had a meeting this week, guys, with everybody knows Cash Crown Skips. He's actually had a probably 2.5, 3 hour meeting with me the other day. We've been talking for a long time now. We all know Frank Parker wanted to buy the ground. Norman Smurthwaite didn't want to accept Frank's offer, but Cash is willing to offer a hell of a lot more. So we've actually got a buyer now that will pay, or close to, what Norman Smurthwaite wants, and hopefully in the next couple of months we can get that meeting set up, and it can be owned by somebody from Nuneaton.
If that was to happen, then can we start to dream about developing the ground in terms of, I mean, you've filled this place on 2 or 3 occasions just in the last couple of months with social events. Imagine if this was a purpose-built main stand with a gym and classrooms and a suite where you could hold a wedding or a disco or whatever. Can we dream that big?
Yeah, most definitely. Since we've been putting this little thing together, we put it out there on Facebook and Twitter and Twitter and all the sites. And they'll always get somebody ring up. And at the moment, the door is getting fuller and fuller by people wanting to book the weddings, 21st, 18s. All sorts of events are being booked in. So it looks very, very positive in that manner. But the big picture is, yeah, we're not stupid, but we won't be an Ian Neal, Nick Hawkins, or whoever you want to call Lee Thorne. We won't promise you a massive Fandango building. But it is something that we will be looking at, because it's common sense. Every football club needs a new club, needs a new setup. That's where we're aiming as well, but we're not going to fill you full of shit.
We used to get into loads of trouble at school, can you imagine? Things were pretty much rock bottom, doors were hanging off and the pitch looked a mess, and that's no disrespect to Phil, who I've got so much admiration for, who's stood down, but we had to see him at games. It was difficult because I don't even think he had a lawnmower at one point. I think, was it Alchin who complained about the dandelions? But now the pitch looks unbelievable. This is starting to really shine again, isn't it? And I know there's lots of other plans. Well, first of all, talk to us about the pitch and some of the things that have gone on.
I don't know if I can name the groundsman, but a good mate of mine. He's been in football. He's worked for the Nuneaton Borough before, by the way, with the reserves. But I asked him to come and help me out doing the pitch, and he's actually took about 4 weeks off work to look after the pitch for us. So it's brilliant for the start of the season. So I want to thank Dave Mather for doing all the work he's done.
And lots of other. Before you came in, I was telling everyone about our WhatsApp group and the little videos. I mean, yesterday, I didn't even know you had to roller a carpet, but we were putting a carpet down and it was being rollered in the Rex Spencer, rest his soul, boardroom suite. And a lot of these are people you know, and they're coming in and doing favours, and the roof's been mended and the decking's being done. And
It's been unbelievable behind the scenes, the workload that's gone on. I think most of us that come down, we've all got a job. And we've obviously got the book for the borough because we go to work probably an hour early now, so we can finish at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock to get round here and do sort of like 6-7 hours round here. Some of the guys don't leave here till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night doing odd jobs, and I can't thank them enough because without them this place is getting so much tidier and better. So thank you for all you.
So, what has gone on? I mean, I can tell people that the boardroom experience has improved. I know that Roger's been very involved in that, improving the food and the quality of the service, but with new carpets down. What else is going on around the ground that people should know about? New boards all around the pitch. Grimes has been working really hard on getting new advertisers.
It's just non-stop. It's what a football club needs. And one thing I have found out, at places like Barwell, it's quite a little club. When you come in here, it's a massive club. Not only in history and stature, but behind the scenes, the amount of work that it needs to keep the place clean, tidy, and the upkeep is unbelievable. But we'll never give in, I don't think, until we've got it right. We're probably decorating a run-down shack, really, aren't we, to make it nice. We're only looking at the next 12 months, really, to see where we go. So we'll do what we can to tidy everything up, and hopefully everybody enjoys the clean, tidy little setup. But what else can we do but keep trying?
It's not lost on me that you've got a skip hire company involved, which brings me on to the rugby club. The relationship with the rugby club was frayed, we all know that, but since you've come in, the turnstiles reopened. That was massive because the Stockport game would certainly not have been at that capacity without those open. What's the agreement with the rugby club?
It's very simple. They need to use the pitch. We need the community to pull together. The only way we can get the community to pull together and stop bad headlines in papers and radios is let the rugby club use the pitch. They're only using it 13 times, so it's not as if they're going to rip it to bits. I'm a football person, so along with all you lot, nobody wants a rugby player on his pitch, but if it has to be done for the community, you know, sport in the community is massively important. We'll have to put up with it. And hopefully the relationship is now fixed and cemented and we can all move on. And at the end of the season, we have planned to have a big mix do in their club and in our club, so to show everybody that we've got togetherness.
Fantastic. We all wanted that. Simple outcome, just sit down and talk it through. A few things that people have been asking on the forum, fans really want to know. The away shirt, this is it, is that right?
That's the shirt, yeah, that's the shirt. We did ask the fans to pick it. I know it's only a small, but you won't believe this, lads. It fits about 7 or 8 of our players, and they seem to like them really tight these days. I hope you like it. You picked it. Yeah. We did go for yellow shorts, yellow socks. So we went for a retro black badge, something different. You might get 1 or 2 people say why. We had a little vote on it and said, look, let's try it. So there it is. And I'm a massive believer that you win more games away from home, so that will be the winning shirt regular, because we'll smash and grab.
Yeah. Fantastic. So we're nearly there. The weather forecast isn't great, but it would be what we want, 800-900 people here on Saturday. I know there's a few away on holiday, and then we keep that up and probably have this conversation again in September and keep the fans informed and get people down here for the social events and all that sort of stuff. 24 hours, 48 hours to go. Anything else that needs to be done?
No, I'd just like to answer this one that Adam said. Listen, if we don't win 10 games, it's Dale goes first, then Labs, then Tom. You know what I mean? I'm here for the long stay, lads.
And on that note, Jimmy Ginnelly. So we've covered off nearly every base except the players themselves. So let's get one of the players up. He's very shy, so go very easy on him. I'm assuming he's still the club skipper. Ladies and gentlemen, Cam Belford. Long walk. How are you, buddy? Bit training. Well, let's just clear that one up. Are you club captain, team captain?
I think so, yeah. Should have asked the gaffer, really. But no, we had a conversation earlier, and I think I am still going to be the captain. So, but on that note, it's a great honour for me to captain this club. Obviously, being from Nuneaton and watching the team as a young kid, being at school and that, and it is a massive honour for me to lead these lads out. And it's just about me getting the lads to buy into what this club means to the people of Nuneaton, and show the passion out on the pitch that the fans show in the stands.
Just run the clock back a little bit to last season, where you had to pick the ball out of the net a few times. I have an incredible vision. I watched the Stockport game from the scaffolding. It seemed like the safest place to be, and I think the referee gave you the nod that the game was going to end, and I'd already seen it was like the Alamo as their fans were running. So I think it was about the quickest I've ever seen you run.
Well, I'd had it previous, to be fair. Well, a few years ago when I was at Bury, I got attacked by a fan, so I knew something was going to go off. So I said to the ref before, just let me know, so I can literally run off the pitch, because I knew they were going to come. So that was the safest thing to do. But that game itself was incredible for the club, really, more so than anything. Obviously, financially helped us out massively. But you know, seeing the Stockport players and fans celebrate, I think that, you know, there's no reason why we can't try and push to do that this year for ourselves.
I mean, writing was on the wall for a very long time, relegation, and I know how much that hurt you personally, and even when it was confirmed, you still wanted to win games and do your best, and there was no lack of effort ever, from what I could tell from the lads.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, I was a nightmare last year. You know, I think my missus left me about 10 times last season. To be fair, I was an absolute nightmare on Saturdays, and it hurts. You know, it probably hurts me more than anyone else being from Nuneaton. But you know, as you say, it wasn't due to a lack of effort from the lads last season. It was difficult on and off the pitch. I'm not trying to make excuses, because ultimately the performances weren't good enough either. But there was that much going against the lads last year that it was difficult to operate, really. But you know, hopefully, you know, and you can see now that most of that's behind us. You know, we've got a new, fresher lads with a new mindset, and we're all positive of having a good season this year.
And that's what I want to come on to next. So, you know, there's 2 or 3 lads in the club who are linked with last season. It doesn't feel like it hangs heavy on you. As I said, it was inevitable, so it wasn't like a last day disaster which you could probably carry into pre-season as a bit of a hangover. It's done, dusted, over, playing at a level below. This group of lads that has steadily grown, tell us a little bit about it.
In my opinion, we've got a better set of lads this season than we did at any point of last season. The quality of the players is better. The character within the dressing room is much better. We've got some better lads, and we've got a lot of lads that have played a lot of games at this level of football and know what this level's about. So, all in all, you know, and the management we've got, the staff, you know, are brilliant as well. So, all in all, you know, I think we've got a good base to build from. It's one of them in pre-season where we've got a brand new set of lads, and it does take a little bit of time for lads to gel and bed in together. You know, results probably haven't been as good as we wanted in pre-season, but there's a bigger picture, really. It's about the squad coming together as a group, and I think come the game Saturday, you'll see that there is a brand new mindset and a brand new set of lads willing to give their all for this club.
I'm old school, and I think you are too. So can we expect to see them all out in fancy dress round Nuneaton anytime soon?
I've tried to get them out to Nuneaton, to be fair, but I don't think they're ready for that yet. Because I've been out a few times and it is scary. No, the lads are willing to, you know, to interact with the fans. They know what it's about. They know that this club is a massive club at this level of football. And as I said, they need to buy into the fact that they've got to give their all for this club, because the fans give their all for this club, and you know, they can see that week in, week out. You know, we've seen it last season, as the gaffer mentioned, the fans clapping us off last year after some really poor performances and, you know, really poor results. So to be on the other end of that with some wins, it'd be magnificent. I think the lads know what's required. You know, we've gone through what we need to get through in terms of match preparation, tactics, everything's ready to go on Saturday for kick-off. And as I say, hopefully we'll see a different outcome on Saturdays this year than we did last year.
So that message is coming through from people like Dale, Lavs, Jimmy, you, all Nuneaton people. That's coming through. Do you realise how important this is to the people of this town, especially after last season?
Yeah. But you can see that. You can even see in pre-season, even the attendances in pre-season. Some of the lads have never played in front of bigger crowds in normal games than they have in pre-season. So, and they can see everything going around the place, the size of the club, everything. People interacting with everybody, the stuff going on at the club. This is a massive club at this level of football, and it shouldn't be at this level. It should be at the top level of non-league football at least. I fully believe that, and a lot of people here believe that. So it is about everyone buying into it. Everyone's got to be pulling on the same page. So I think we're getting there, on and off the pitch. So, we are prepared to have a right good go, and I'd be very disappointed if we weren't up there at the top of the league this year.
The majority, if not all, of the lads are at least within an hour of the club, aren't they, travelling wise, which helps with Tuesday, Thursday training. I guess a lot of the fans like to see those players in and around the bar area afterwards, just interacting, and because they're local now, can we expect to see them mingling?
No, definitely, yeah. And we brought a fine into the lads this year that if they don't go in the bar after the games, it's a fine, and if they don't stay for at least an hour after the games, it's a fine. So you'll have every player in here after the game, in with the fans, interacting, having a pint, whatever they want to drink, water, whatever they're going to drink. But they will be in here, so you can ask them anything you want. Not sure what answer you're going to get, but no, it's great to see. I think that's a massive part of non-league football. I've always been like that throughout my career, and I've always gone into the bar and interacted with fans, and I've been a people person, me, yourself, and I think that's a good thing, and it builds strong relationships and strong bonds. And I think the club had lost that over the last few years. There wasn't that connection with the players, the fans, and the community really. So it's all about everybody buying into everything and having a right good go.
So tell us a little bit about the characters. Who's the most likely to be hanging his backside out the back window of the team coach? Who's the Guy Hadlin type figure in the club? Have we got anybody like that? Do we want anybody like that?
My dad, to be fair.
No, but you are right. Actually, you are right.
No, I am right. But the lads next to him, Callum Powell, is an absolute weirdo. So he's probably next on the list, to be fair, Powell.
It's funny you should mention Callum, because I was with Connor Taylor the other night. He was watching Leamington because he can't get a game there, so he's looking for a new club actually, I think. Probably shouldn't say that. And he was saying about some of the connections that he can see here at this club. So there's ex-Tamworth players, there's little pockets of players that have all played together before, haven't they, that have come in. Some would argue they could be cliques, but it sounds to me like you're all pulling together and gelling straight away.
Yeah, I mean, a majority of lads at this level of football, and the majority of lads we've got have all played together. Majority of them have played together at different clubs or here and there, or they come across each other anyway when they played against each other. But as you say, the group's a strong group of lads. There is some strong characters in there. We've got some really good experienced lads in there, some proper pros who know the game. We've got a right mix, but what we've got is a good set of lads, a real good set of lads that I would think personally going to be willing to give their all for this club, and most of them will run for a brick wall for you.
So, quietly confident, is there a bit of a, when you look around and you look into the eyes of the people in the dressing room, I mean, you'll know more on Saturday, but you're getting that feeling that we can do this?
Yeah, definitely. I think, pre-season is always difficult because, no matter who you are as a player, you don't prepare yourself for a pre-season game as you do for the league games or a competitive game. So going into Saturday is going to be, we're going to see a lot from a lot of players. But I think once Saturday comes, I think we'll know what we've got. We know what we're capable of. We know what we're capable of in the dressing room. I think the lads can see that we've got the quality in there to have a right good go this year. There's a lot of teams in the league that have strengthened well. There's some good sides in there, but there's no reason that we can't be right up there if we stick to what we know we need to do.
Fantastic. And because you are from Nuneaton and you've stuck with the club, and I know you've got a good rapport with the fans. Message for these people, and there are people going to watch the video back as well, the fans?
You know, just stay with us, because you know it's going to be a totally different season this year. I promise you that. Not only you know you can see everything off the field's going in the right direction, you know, and it's going to be a totally different season on the field as well. But stick with us. It's going to be a bumpy ride. It's not going to be plain sailing. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. But we stick together as a whole. The lads are going to stick together through it. The fans we all stick together, and we'll see where we end up. But you know, I want this club to be as successful as anyone else out there, and I'm damn sure the lads do as well, because you know the lads in there are all winners, and we want to win things. We're not here for the money. We're not here for an easy ride. We're here to win things, and we're going to have a right good go.
Fantastic, and well, we wish you well, ladies and gentlemen. Captain, good back. Goalkeeper, Cam Belford. So, some of the lads are in at the back of the room if you want to go and say hello, and management team as well. You can tell people, I think Matt, this is Matt, he's been filming this as well, so that'll be out on YouTube, will it? $9.99 on Netflix. Fans Forum, the series. So, all we can do now is look forward to Saturday, turn up in numbers, pick up these to spread around the town. They'll be on a regular basis. Buy your replica kits, which I think are on sale tonight, with other badges and memorabilia there. Say hello to the lads, and just to say, up the Borough for Saturday.